YouTube, welcome to another episode of the Mark and Mike Show. Unfortunately, Mike's not with us today because his bike isn't back together and his arm still hurts. So today I'm riding with Lance. And instead of riding in the upper Naztucca where we normally ride, we are in the Tillamook Forest, still in Oregon. And this is over by the Diamond Mill area. And as you can see from the video, the single track up here is awesome. I mean, I think their single track is much more single track than the single track we have over in the upper Naztucca. And it took a little bit of getting used to because I'm just not used to, having my bark busters hit bark, as I'm riding, and then you're also constantly in a rut. I mean, as you can see, the trail is so skinny, it's kind of like riding in a rut all the time. And it took a little bit of getting used to, but I tell you, I loved it. I mean, I'm really looking forward to coming back up here again sometime. Also, some beautiful views up here. I mean, if you kind of notice in the distance, you'll see off and on it's just some really nice views. So here I'm meeting up with Lance.
Yeah, that's fun.
You good?
Yeah, this bike feels bigger when you're on trails you haven't ridden before.
Oh, sure, probably does.
And as you can see from this trail, all of the trails up here aren't super narrow. I mean, there are some trails that are a little more than like what we're used to. And Lance is a good guy. You can see he's constantly cleaning trail. He picks up garbage. He's an older guy in his 60s, rides all the time. He's really, really into riding. A super good rider, much better rider than me. As you can see, he keeps getting away from me, and I kind of have issues trying to keep up with him. But a really fun guy to ride with. He's actually the first guy I rode with. I met him before I met Mike, but he spends his winters down south, and then his summers up here in Oregon, just so he can ride more. And I've heard people complain about how rocky it is up here, and you can see here it's kind of rocky, but actually I didn't think that the rockiness was too much different than Naztucca. I mean, I think the real difference is just the narrow single track, and then you also come out into a lot of places with beautiful views like this. You don't get that quite as much over at Naztucca. So here, Lance told me when he said down the trail there's going to be a log, he says just nail it and you'll go right over the log. And of course, as always, not enough throttle. I didn't quite make it over the log, but I do make it up. You'll see here, it's just not that hard to lift.
I made it with the front. I think I'm going to just kind of...
And so I'm very thankful that it's a two-stroke, just because it's so much lighter. I was able to lift the bike up over the log, and then I kind of stood it up here, and then I remembered that, hey, I've got an electric start, so all I have to do is pull in the clutch, start it, and the bike kind of walks itself up, and then I can hop up on the log and ride away. And so I love the electric start and the lightweight of the two-stroke. So Lance did a really good job of pointing out the names for all the trails, but unfortunately my memory isn't so great. So this is the only trail that I remember the name of, and that's because it's Frankenstein. Kind of a cool name. Apparently this trail used to wander all over the place. I've heard a lot of people say that it's an awesome trail. You'll see in a little bit up here, the trail is going to turn into a logging road. Notice how tight these trees are. I mean, I was coming through here and I was constantly worried about hitting one of my bark busters, on one of these trees. And I mean, they're awfully tight. Whoa! And you can see right there a little bit of whiskey throttle, I guess. Luckily, I had my finger on the clutch. I always ride with one finger on the brake, front brake, and one finger on the clutch, and so I saved myself there from being launched off into the trees somewhere. So as we come down the trail here, if you kind of look off a little bit above Lance, you can see the logging road. And they just put that logging road in, and apparently it took away miles of this trail here. So that was kind of a bummer. But you can see beautiful views. Rode down the logging road a little bit until we found this trail, which is another one that Lance likes quite a bit. And this trail is a one-way in the way we're going, and it's because it's so steep. I think it would actually be a pretty fun trail to go up. But here we are going down. So one thing that I do quite often when it's steep is I'll turn off my motor. You can see with the e-start there, I turned it back on. But it's just a little easier for me to go down something that's really steep with the motor turned off because I can concentrate a little bit more. And then I've also got the, I can use the clutch for braking a little bit. And so here's where it gets really steep. And I'm getting a lot better at this sort of thing, but I've always kind of struggled with the steep stuff. So I saw Lance get off and start to bulldog his bike down the hill. So I thought the perfect opportunity for me not to have to try to go straight down. So here I am walking next to the side of the bike with the brake. And the biking gear, so I can kind of use the clutch and the front brake together, and I just kind of walked it down each one of these steps. The tricky part was quite often the bike would kind of go down ahead of me, and I would have to kind of slide a little bit on my feet in order to keep up with the bike, to keep it from flying out from underneath. Eventually, though, made it down to the bottom. Probably could have ridden it down if I was a little bit braver. One of the things I struggle with, though, on this steep stuff is I tend to lock up the front wheel and not have enough weight over the back of the bike, and quite often get that back wheel popping up into the air, which is a little stressful on something that's really steep like that. So that trail just really tuckered me out, and I've got some health issues with my hips, and I was just so tired after about this point of the ride that I was actually ready to turn around and head back home. I think Lance could have ridden for another couple hours, but I was getting pretty tuckered. So here you can see I've got this log that I had to lift the bike going up, and a year ago this would have stressed me going down it, but now I know you just gas it, just don't hit that front brake when you land, and the bike just keeps rolling. I mean, it's not a big deal. So I'm getting better, but it's a slow process. So anyhow, we continued on down these gravel roads, and then headed home and had a really good ride. I did dump the bike on the gravel road on the way home, but didn't get any video of it. So anyhow, thanks for watching.